Welcome to Unfiltered Summit Sisters. I'm Gina.
And I'm Julia.
We are two ride-or-die best friends who are paving the path for what true, authentic relationships look like.
We're facing hardships head-on, having real, uncensored conversations, supporting each other's growth, and shining a light on true, raw healing.
We are navigating the world the best we know how,
Having a hell of a time doing it.
laughing every step of the way,
Through the rain
and sunshine.
This is Canyon Culture.
Okay, today let's talk about, we have a couple of kids between the two of us.
Just a few.
We've got a few, and apparently you're supposed to feed them multiple times a day. You can't just like lay out a trough full of food and just let them graze. Like, you're supposed to feed them 3 times a day.
For 18 years minimum.
Like, that's a lot. And as soon
Yeah.
as, like, I remember I was talking to a neighbor and she was responding to your day in the life that you did on Instagram. And she was like, she finishes breakfast and starts dinner. What is that? And I was like, right? Like, that's how meals are. With once you finish one, you're prepping the next one.
I spend a good portion of my day in the kitchen. Easily.
I will say, though, when I was married, I loathed being in the kitchen, and now it's a lot better, and so it's not as bad. But I don't know. It's a lot. It's a lot. You've got 6 kids. I've got 4. We are often doing dinners together, but
Yeah.
we've also been doing this for, almost 16 and 13 years of feeding these people. So for you, how do you manage feeding 6 kids? Because I do know that having healthy, nutritious meals, like, we leave lots of grace for boxed macaroni and cheese and frozen pizza.
Absolutely.
But when we're not doing that, we do put effort into making sure we're getting healthy food into our kids, but also, feeding them in general, because there's lots of times where I'm like, I have no dinner plans. What are we doing? So what does that look like for you? What does feeding your kids look like?
I feel like I kind of had a advantage because I come from a big family. And so I made dinner lots when I was a kid I was the oldest. And I made dinner lots. So I already knew how to feed a big crowd. So I already had kind of an advantage there.
That's nice.
But it's also, so it's looked different in different seasons as well. So right now I've got my 6, your 4 occasionally some neighbor kids. I mean, there are days where we're feeding 15.
I was just going to say, I was like, some neighbor kids, there's upwards 4 or 5 neighbor kids, right? Like, it's not like just one.
It's true. It's true.
A lot.
So there's lots of times we're feeding 15.
Yeah.
15 people.
No, 15 children. That's not including the adults.
Who we do also have to eat at some point, apparently.
Speaking of which, I'm hungry.
I know. I didn't. Did you eat breakfast?
I did, but it didn't hit right. Are we going to day trip?
I had coffee.
I had my normal oatmeal and protein shake, but now I'm like, I want a cinnamon raisin bagel.
Ooh. There's this place in Texas called Snooze, and they have this blueberry Danish gluten-free pancake.
I'm pretty sure you've sent me pictures, and it looks like it.
I have.
Okay, we're supposed to save that for later in the podcast.
Okay, sorry.
Focus.
Sorry. Why are we talking about food when we didn't eat enough beforehand?
We did not prep.
This was a horrible idea.
We did not prep for this day very well at all. Okay, so you have an advantage, but so when you're planning your meals, are you planning for 15 or do you plan for 6, or how does that look?
So I go to Costco kind of every 3-ish weeks, I would say. And that is where I get all of our staples, all of our big stuff. So I'm buying fruits, vegetables, a whole lot of chicken. We go through a whole lot of chicken, a whole lot of ground beef, milk, tortillas, eggs, just all the staples, right?
Yeah.
And then I put a grocery order in every weekend just for smaller things. So I do a meal plan a whole week ahead. One night is pizza night, movie night. That's easy.
So nice having that.
So nice.
Yeah.
I wake up Friday and I'm like, don't have to do dinner.
Dinner's done.
So one night
Unless you forget to order pizza, which has happened. But I live 6
pretty
houses
sure there's
down.
no pizza in my freezer right now. Now that you're actually
But
saying
there's street
that out
tacos
loud.
happening across the street today.
That's true.
So you don't even have to do pizza.
That's true, but I don't want to stand in the cold.
Can we just manifest warm weather? Because this is
Are y'all going to have a
balloon.
fire?
There better be. We're camping.
Okay, so
Okay, there's a neighborhood activity happening across the street at like this person's park yard. Their yard is a park. And we're having a neighborhood activity and they're having street tacos.
Yeah.
So,
also, I'm pretty sure there's no pizza in my freezer now that you say that, and tonight is pizza night.
okay, I have
It's
4.
fine.
I have 4.
you
So
do?
if we
Sweet. Well, I'll just take your 4 and then I'll put 4 in my order and give it back to you.
like doesn't
Perfect.
matter. It doesn't matter. Either way, you have pizza or street tacos, it's fine.
Okay,
It's
so
not like you're eating the pizza either, so you don't
That's
have to.
true.
You can send your kids to stand in the cold to eat street
That's true.
tacos. Okay, moving on.
Okay, so one night is pizza night.
Yeah.
We do frozen pizza and movies.
Yep.
One night is leftovers, and one night is dinner at your house. Minimum.
My favorite is you've got that little menu on your fridge, and then you just on one of the days you're like, ask Mama G. I was like, oh,
Go to her.
well, Wednesday
every week.
It's minimum Wednesday. I feed your kids because that's your busiest day.
Yeah.
And then I think there was a day where it's like Wednesday, Mama G, and then like Saturday you're like, ask Mama G, and I was just like, I've got 2 nights. Cool.
I love it. I try to do so. Usually, I'm more on top of things earlier in the week.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to feed the 5,000, I try to do Monday or Tuesday because I'm on top of things.
Right.
And then I know you're going to get Wednesday, and then we've got pizza Friday, and I'm done by then. So done.
I'm done by Wednesday.
Yeah. So yeah, Costco once every 3-ish weeks. Smith's every weekend for smaller stuff. I do plan out meals. I have plenty of staples on hand. So I am able to make bigger amounts of dinner.
I feel like we both do a good job at making meals that it's like chicken and roasted veggies. So it's a certain kind of marinated chicken. So you're just adding you're like, okay, if we have more people today, let me just add another package of chicken instead of following a recipe where you have to double and triple and you have to do like all kinds of specialty stuff.
Right.
I feel like we both are good at making meals that just generally you can grow and shrink as needed quite easily.
Yeah.
I think that's super
well,
helpful.
And oftentimes I'm already making a bigger dinner anyway so that we have leftovers for lunches. And lunches for us are either leftovers or sandwiches usually.
Yeah. Yeah. We do I just feel that there's those days where you call me and you're like, hey, I got dinner. And sometimes I tell you that I cry about it and sometimes I don't because it's embarrassing. But either way, I'm just like, oh my gosh. Because a lot of times I have like on weeks and off weeks. And the off weeks are the weeks that you're like, hey, I've got dinner. And I'm just like, I love you.
Yeah, we can't do an off week at the same time. We did that not too long ago and it didn't go very well.
It didn't. There was a lot of quesadillas happening that week.
There were some hangry kids. So let's talk about some of what our normal eating looks like.
Okay.
So what do y'all do for breakfast?
I will have bagels or English muffins on hand, little packets of instant oatmeal. For me, I always have oatmeal and a protein shake, but for my kids, we go through phases of what they like.
Yeah.
So right now, like there's a lot of phases where we like eggs. I'll just make a big, huge thing of scrambled eggs or egg burritos. But just stuff that makes it quick and easy because my kids do go to school. So we've got to be out the door by 8.
Yeah.
And none of us are morning people. So we've got to find something. And I need my kids to be independent. So if we have bagels, they can do that themselves. So right now they are on a big bagel kick. So we do that. But we can't do cereal because I freaking love cereal and I will eat that breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Even if it doesn't matter. It's not even the sugary Cocoa Dino Bites that I love so much. It could be Raisin Bran. And I'm like, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, done. I love this so much. But my kids somehow make cereal so messy. And I don't have any girls. And so they will spill half a gallon of milk and then just step over it or walk through it. And I'm just like, what is wrong with you? I try not to say that to them, but in my head I'm going, what is wrong with you?
Right.
So I can't do cereal. I know lots of people are like, this is how much cereal. I think you do. You're like, I buy this many boxes of cereal a week or whatever. And
yep. We get one
gone.
giant size box of cereal. And when it's gone, it's gone.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they would also eat it.
Yeah.
All day, every day. There was one day where they're like, Mom, could we have cereal for dinner and you don't even have to cook? And I was like, I guess.
I love those days.
I guess because I'm a good, cool mom.
That's how you play it off, right? You're
Absolutely.
you're just like, let me think about it. And inside you're doing this happy dance. Like,
Yes.
absolutely, we're doing that. But
Yeah.
no, yeah, for breakfast for me, it's how do we get quick and easy
Right.
and out the door.
Mm-hmm.
And what about, and are your kids pretty independent with breakfast?
And the older ones are, the younger ones aren't quite yet. They almost started a fire in the toaster with a bagel the other day. And I'm like,
10 minutes is too long, kids.
you two are not allowed to make toast, or you're not allowed to use anything that requires electricity. Nothing. Or gas.
Light switches are off limits.
Yeah. So we do a lot of the same breakfasts. The only other thing that we'll do is we'll throw in some protein smoothies every now and then.
My kids are asking for green smoothies.
For what?
Green smoothies. Like,
oh, yeah.
Like Russell's like, can we do green smoothies again? And I'm like, I guess. It's another one of those, like,
right.
I'll think about it.
Right.
But he loves them. He's like packing them with all kinds of good stuff. And he makes them good too.
Mm.
But it's another thing that's messy. Bagels are less messy.
Yeah.
But yeah. So you do sandwiches and leftovers for lunch.
Sandwiches or leftovers is lunch. I will keep some lunch meat on hand.
Yeah.
Some peanut butter and jelly on hand, which are sandwiches. So I don't know why I'm saying that right now, but you know.
The cold is
sleep deprivation. Is it showing?
I'm so tired. I'm so stinking tired. I didn't even notice. I'm like, oh yeah, that sounds great. Good advice, Julia.
But I homeschool, so mine are all home. So it's easy to heat up leftovers or, do whatever we need to do for lunch. But yours go to school. So what do y'all do for lunches?
Sandwiches. Okay. Yeah, so like turkey sandwiches or peanut butter and jelly, peanut butter and honey, stuff like that.
Yeah.
The hard part is neither you or I buy snacks. We rarely, like the most snacks we get is like chips, and we're talking like tortilla chips for chips and salsa kind of chips, but neither of us buy a lot of snacks. But with them going to school, they need something snacky, and the hardest part is keeping them from eating them regular. So I'll do like a Go-Gurt or a cheese square or an apple, and I just try and keep it healthy. But it's hard. It's because they're turds and they eat the snacks all the time. So I do the same thing. I'm like, if this runs out and it's supposed to last X amount of weeks, then you're hungry. So I have a rule. When you get home, they're like, I'm hungry. Can I have something to eat? Now a snack to them is like a piece of bread, right? Like,
right.
And I'm like, no, because I provide plenty of food for you to have at school.
Yep.
And if you don't choose to do that, then you have to wait till dinner. And so it kind of reminds me of the dogs. I'm just like, this is food. You can eat it or not, but you're not getting more food to the next meal. And that keeps them from grazing all day. Then they're hungry for dinner. And I may look like a mean mom, and they may sneak away to other people's houses who have snacks, which I think is great. But I also feel bad. I'm like, please don't feed my kids, because you don't need to add that to your grocery bill, because they'll be there every day going, what kind of snacks you got in there?
I don't think it's a mean mom at all, because we're also instilling eating habits.
Yeah.
In our kids right now. Yeah. And while we want that to look very balanced, that's a huge reason why I don't buy snacks at all. The snacks that my kids can have are fruits, vegetables. Yeah. You can boil an egg. You can have some lunch meat, because they'll graze all day on snacks, and then they don't want to eat healthy meals.
Good food, yeah. So when you were growing up, did you guys
expensive.
have snacks? That's what I was going to ask. Growing up, did you guys have snacks?
No, we really didn't.
Yeah, we didn't either. And so I heard a video the other day where they're like, did you grow up with a snack family or an ingredient family? And so it's like, if you grew up as an ingredient family, your snacks were like cinnamon sugar bread and cinnamon tortillas. Yes. And like they had everybody was commenting on what ingredient things, because you don't just have things, you have to go make stuff. So what did we come up with that was like a snack that you could just, anyway, it was super, super funny. But I realized, but I don't have the budget, and my kids would just eat snacks all day and then not eat the meals. And the meals is where we get the vegetables and stuff in. Yeah. So, but so when they come to me and they say, I'm tired, I'm hungry, I'm like, there's carrots, there's broccoli, have a raw Brussels sprout by all means. Yep. Knock yourself out.
And I am absolutely the kind of mom, I'm like, this is dinner.
Yeah.
And if you choose not to eat it, you're going to have a really great breakfast tomorrow, because you're going to be starving.
It's going to be hungry. Oh, no, same. I think that's one of the things that made living together really easy is we run that all of the food stuff is like food stays in the kitchen. This is how we do meals. Like we didn't have to discuss that. Well, we did discuss it, but we already knew. Like we ran things almost identical. Yeah. And when I say almost identical, I can't think of something we don't do that's the same apart.
That's true.
And so doing stuff together was really, really easy. And
I mean, even down to like our stash, our hidden stashes in our room.
we don't talk about that.
Madison and Mackenzie, you may not listen to this podcast.
Oh, I have a lock on my stash door because my kids don't know how to not touch it.
Okay, so let's go into dinners.
Yeah. What are we making for dinners, you mean?
Yeah, just what are some of the typical rotation? I don't know, anything. Your thoughts on dinners, your typical rotations.
I really want, and I know you can't do this, which I hate because when we lived together, it was my favorite. Like dinners together, I think is important.
Mm-hmm.
And because you work, you can't. And I think that
I really dislike that part of my
it's
life
really-
right now. I don't like that I don't get to have dinner with my kids more often than not because
yeah,
of work.
it's super sucky.
Yeah.
But I want to have dinner all together. But it's even though I don't like my work schedule is more flexible, it's still hard because everyone's
Mhm.
running a mile a minute. But my main goal is I need healthy meals that are not complicated. But the problem is some of my favorite meals are more complicated, like burrito bowls. They're not complicated, it's just like a lot of parts.
They're so good.
But they're so good. Or meatballs. There's
You make the best balls that I've ever had.
thank you so much. They're so good.
Yeah, they are.
They're so good. And so all the meals that I really like take a lot more effort, and that makes me sad. But in general, I always say we do a lot of chicken as well. So we do a lot of like roasted chicken in different kinds of marinades,
Yeah.
and then roasted veggies, and that's it. And that feeds a ton. We'll do rice, feeds a ton. So I can easily have my kids come. I remember one day I text one of your girls, and I was like, "Hey, how many kids am I feeding?" And she's like, 14. And I was like, is that a joke number?
43.
Is that a joke number or a for real number? And she's like, that's a for real number. And I went and I was like, I haven't gone shopping in a while. And I was like, okay, I have frozen chicken. We can Instant Pot some frozen chicken. And I somehow whipped together a delicious teriyaki chicken and fed all 14. And I was like, this is like the loaves and the fishes with Jesus. Like that's what I just pulled off right there.
Right.
Because I don't know how I just fed all of these kids with how little I had in my pantry. And it was good and everybody liked it. And I was like, that was amazing.
I love that.
Yeah. But I love that so my main thing is just meals that are not complicated because then I don't do them, I get burnt out. And
Right.
that's the part that I hate. But I do meal prep the same way you do where I get a menu of 1 or 2 weeks ahead.
Yeah.
And so I have ideas of what I need to have on hand. But when I do things like meatballs and things like burrito bowls, that makes me really happy. And then I get burnt out. And then I have my weeks where I'm like, mac and cheese every day, burritos. I mean, like breakfast burritos. But yeah, what is your favorite dinner that you make?
Oh, I'm a good cook. That's hard.
Right, that's the thing.
That's hard.
We both cook decently well.
I know. So we were talking about this. I was like, it would really suck if one of us wasn't a good cook. Right. But we were still trying to do this like life together and like,
Right.
I've got dinner tonight. And the other one's like, oh, I'm not hungry. Like it would suck if one of us wasn't a good cook. How would we even handle that?
I had never thought of it like that though. Where it was just like, because it never crossed my mind because you just always cook
right.
good.
Yeah.
You cook good. But it was just like, you're like, hey, I'm making this tonight. And I'm like, oh my gosh, is that an invitation or are you bragging? I need to know which direction my emotions need to be right now. But yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
I think yeah. So what is your favorite thing that you make? Like right now, it doesn't have to, like you can have multiple favorites.
I don't know if I have a favorite thing right now.
Do you remember when we were porching?
Mhm.
It was Burn Barrel night actually.
Okay.
And we were both super hungry. And I was like, I want tacos. And you're like, meat. She's like, you said, I have everything but the meat for tacos. I was like, I have ground turkey in my
Yes.
fridge. Go get it. You can have it and you can make yourself tacos. And then like 30 minutes later, you text me and a picture and you're like, your tacos are ready. And I sat there at the Burn Barrel and I was like, I gotta go. My platonic lesbian lover just made me tacos. I'm out of here. And I ran to your house, ate tacos, and then came back to Burn Barrel.
Mhm.
And they're like, what just happened? I was like, she made me tacos. It was amazing. Never felt so loved.
Yeah.
It was so good. I like your Greek chicken.
That's good and easy.
That's the part
So
I love is
easy.
that we cook well and it's usually easy. And then when we want to get fancy, when we cook fancy,
Mhm.
it's even better. But yeah.
I agree. I try to do for all of our meals, I try to do a protein, a fat, and a carb. And I
Yeah.
try to teach the kids that your body needs protein,
three.
fat, and a carb to have fuel and energy, but to also keep you full.
Yeah.
So we do a lot of rice and potatoes
Yeah.
for dinners. That makes, feeding the 5,000
Easier.
It makes things spread. So even like the kids love chili. Putting it on top of rice makes the chili go further.
Yeah.
Helps me feed more people. But we do a lot of really simple meals.
I hate that you're gluten-free because my cornbread is so bomb.
You know what I've really been wanting lately?
What?
Your apple pie.
I can make the filling for you if you want. We'll just,
And
or I guess we could put it in a gluten-free crust.
Yeah.
See, we make good food.
And I was like, I'll just ask her for my birthday. And I was like, I can't wait that long.
Listen,
It's May.
You're my person. You can ask.
My birthday's not till November.
I'm gonna make it anyway for Thanksgiving. So you're like, listen, it's Memorial Weekend. Can I have pie?
It is Cinco de Mayo today.
We need apple pie.
We need gluten-free apple pie.
Let's go get a crust and I'll make you apple pie.
Oh my God.
See, this is like, we're struggling lately understanding why we don't live together.
Yeah.
That's been a struggle. Food alone.
Right.
Okay, so we've been talking about a lot of food. We probably should explain the fact that we experience food on a different level than a lot of people. And I had a conversation with a neighbor and we were talking about going out to eat. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I was just describing this experience I had with food one time. And she was like, I just can't spend money on food. I would much rather spend it on clothes. I was like, I would gladly be naked if I could eat really good food.
Absolutely.
I was like, I will happily spend all of my money on really good food.
Absolutely.
So yeah, but some people just don't experience food the way that we do.
No, because foodgasms are a very real thing.
They are. And poor Kevin at Tsunami, firsthand experience of how awkward that could be.
Poor Kevin, this cute little waiter who looked to be 16 years old, right?
Yeah.
He brings us our sushi at our favorite place.
Yeah.
And it's just an experience. There are facial expressions. There are some noises.
Like neither of us are talking. We're just we're just sitting there with our eyes closed.
It's so good.
I think the first time we did that, both of our eyes were closed. I opened my eyes and I just started laughing because you're sitting there. Like I was like, "Is that what I look like?" Because your eyes are closed and you're just like,
foodgasm.
It's a thing.
Poor Kevin. You remember when we took my sister?
Yeah.
To Tsunami? There was one piece of sushi left, and we're all doing the nice thing, right? We're all kind of sitting there. There's one piece left, and the waiter comes over to grab the plate. All three of us lunge our bodies at him,
with our chopsticks. What are you doing?
And he's like, "Whoa!"
He said, "Whoa." He audibly was like, "Whoa," and we're like, "We weren't done yet." We hadn't rock, paper, scissors to see who was going to get the last piece. We didn't arm wrestle to see who was going to win.
He just slowly backs up.
Oh my gosh, why are we not kicked out of that restaurant yet? But no, it's definitely, food is...
It is one of the things that God put on this earth for us to enjoy, and it brings me joy.
Well, and how many times are the daydreams that we have about our partners involving food? Whether it's he measures our food to our macros, or he brings us food while we're in bed, or while we're working, or while we're training, or just shows up with tacos and we're just like, hi.
Yeah.
How are you? Let me eat and then we will have some fun. Because, thank you.
All kinds of gasms. That was inappropriate. I'm sorry, but I'm not.
But it's not false. God agrees. He agrees. But I do
Is that
feel
what we're supposed to be doing today?
Foodgasms?
No, that's more. I'm not going to say that out loud. Keep going.
Oh my gosh. I do feel like food is a love language, though.
Absolutely.
If somebody thinks of me and what I like, or just brings me food, I'm just like there's emotions, and not foodgasm emotions, just gratitude. I feel so loved and seen.
I'm glad you clarified that.
I needed to, because I feel like where your head is at right now. Moving on. So there was a day.
It's the freaking weekend, baby. Never mind. Keep going.
Bounce.
I'm in a mood.
So there was a day. So I breed dogs, and so it was puppy pickup day. And I'm sitting there talking to this couple who's picking up their puppy, and we're just talking about how great the neighborhood is because our neighborhood's amazing, and you can feel it when you're there, and the view is incredible. And so they're just like, this neighborhood's amazing. And I look over, and our favorite neighbors, Greg and Shirley, are walking down the sidewalk with a container of Grug salsa.
What? So hold on. You have to explain what Grug salsa is.
Grug salsa is the amazing salsa that the ingredients are all grown in his backyard, and then other neighbors donate. Like another neighbor grows all kinds of fun peppers, and so it's like this.
How long does it take him to make it?
Hours. He like hand chops everything, and there's so much love in it. There's so much love from these neighbors of ours. So him and sweet Shirley are walking over with this container of salsa, and I stopped mid-sentence and I just went, "Is that for me?" And then Shirley goes, "Yeah." And I was like, "Excuse me." And I bounce over like I am. I was like, "Oh my gosh, thank you so much." And I'm so excited. Talk with them for a second, come back, set it down, and I go back to the couple who's buying this puppy, and I'm like, "I'm so sorry." And they're like, "And this magical neighborhood brings you salsa."
Yes.
And they're just sitting there like, "What just happened?" And I was like, the thing in my life that brings me the most joy, food. And people just bring it to me because they think
it's almost salsa season.
It is almost salsa season. My pico's decent. It's not Grug, but it's decent.
It is.
And it's great on the breedables. But yeah, I feel like when I think of like, oh, what can I do to bring joy to Julia? I'm like, what food can I make her? So Wednesday was breedable day. And I'm pretty sure your girls all week were counting down. They're like, oh my gosh, it's breedable week. And then I sent you food. And then you sent me a picture. And you're just like, I feel so loved.
Yeah.
And it just, I don't know. I love food.
It was amazing. Wednesday is one of my busiest, longest days for work. And so most times you're doing dinner on Wednesdays. This happened to be a super extra fun Wednesday.
Oh.
One of my daughters started losing her ever-loving mind.
I've blocked that out.
Screaming like a banshee.
I love that your girls recorded that. I was like, is this for CPS? Like, explain to me, why did you record
Screaming
this?
like a banshee. The teenager comes into my office as I'm face-to-face with a student, and she's upset, understandably, because it is a lot to handle when she's having one of those moments. And I'm like, I literally, I can't stop. I don't even have time to pee or breathe.
Right.
Like, call Gina. She's like, anyway, so you end up having to come over.
Yeah.
And deal with the screaming banshee possessed child. Is what it feels like.
Yeah, it did feel that way.
You had to stop making dinner to come over, to come handle that, to take them all back to your house, to continue making dinner while she's continuing to be possessed.
What's funny is I
feed, 18 people. Eventually she comes out and she's like nothing ever happened.
Just playing with puppies.
Like, I feel so gaslit right now.
Well, it's funny because I was telling another neighbor I was just like telling her, I was like, Mason has this. And she's like, not Mason. I was like, I have video evidence. And I play it. They're like, whoa. And I was like, I know.
See, I'm telling you, people would never suspect her, ever. But if one of our kids were going to murder someone, I'd put money on her.
Would you?
Yeah.
I was talking with my parents, and Adam runs out and he goes, Thomas has a knife. And I just keep going. And my dad's like, we're not going to do something about that. And I was like, listen. He's like, I'm going to go take care of that. I was like, okay, go for it.
Is it a butter knife?
Like, what kind of knife? Is it serrated? How pointy? I need more information. Yeah, our kids are ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. But here's the beauty. So yes, that interaction with your daughter, it takes me to a 10 quick. I have to be on my game when I'm interacting with her like that. Otherwise, I'm like, don't hurt the child. Don't hurt the child. But I step away and I'm making food, and we've just got these other great kids, and we are so looking forward to breedables that I'm just like happy and chipper. So when I go back to interact with her as she is safely in the bathroom having her temper tantrum, I can be more calm because I'm like, there's breedables in the other room. Yeah. We've got this. And maybe she was just hangry.
Sure.
Which doesn't make sense because we're like, come to dinner anyway. But yeah, I think I do feel like God's like, listen, your life's going to be hard.
Mhm.
And you have to eat every day. So I'm going to make that fun for you.
Yeah.
Enjoy food
Mhm.
on this extra level. So we're going to send this episode to whoever we end up marrying and being like, this is your job for the rest of our lives, is to make sure we have good food all the time.
All the time.
Because we went a really long time
Mhm.
having to provide it for ourselves.
Yeah.
So it's your turn now. Pass the gauntlet to you.
I love that.
So I'm grateful for food.
Mm.
I'm grateful that I get to have you 6 houses down where you will often feed my kids. And sometimes you feed my kids and I just get to stay home and shower, which is incredible.
Mhm.
Sometimes we all have dinner together and I pinch myself because I'm like, a year ago, this was like our wildest dreams that would never come true.
Mhm.
And I'm just grateful that we both have the same feeling about food so that I'm not the one having foodgasms by myself in Tsunami.
I'm not going to make a comment I want to make right now.
Go ahead, your turn. Gratitude.
I am grateful that this is an area where you can help carry the weight. Because there are just so many places where I have to carry the weight and the stewardship all by myself.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm really grateful that this is a place where you can carry weight and you do step in and carry weight, and that feels good.
Good. Okay. Well, we'll see you guys next week.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Unfiltered Summit Sisters.
Come join us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok to get a sneak peek into our lives.
It's beautiful, chaotic, crazy, and fun.
What else would you expect raising 10 kids?
All the links you need are in the show notes.
See you next week.